الحمد لله رب العالمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome to this installment of Study Al-Islam. I am Imam Faheem Shuaibe from Oakland, California. Currently in the series of Study Al-Islam life topics, we're presenting the night journey of Prophet Muhammed called the Isra, or biography of the Prophet, called in that biography Isra Al-Miraj. My presentation this morning will be on Yusuf, or Joseph. Yusuf was on the third of 7 levels through which Prophet Muhammad ascended on his night journey. Yusuf is a symbol of our intuitive capacity for understanding the interpretation of things. I'm going to repeat that because that is who Yusuf is, and Allah knows best. Yusuf is a symbol of our intuitive capacity for understanding the interpretation of things. The hadith from the seerah of Prophet Muhammad in that portion, on that area of the seerah, says, then we ascended to the third heaven. It was said, who is it? Jibril said, Jibril. It was asked, who is with you? Jibril said, Muhammad. It was asked, has he been sent for? Yes, said Jibril. He is welcomed, and what a wonderful visit is his. The Prophet added, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there I met Yusuf and greeted him, and he replied, you are welcomed, O brother and prophet. Imam Muhammad gave his tafsir on this portion of Yusuf's story at an Imam retreat in 1999 in Randolph, Virginia. He said, Yusuf is on the third level, and Yusuf, in my understanding, represents the psyche. All of these are natural, speaking of all the prophets on the Isra Al-Miraj. All of these are natural properties of human matter or creation. That's what they are. So Yusuf represents that in history, that intuitive capacity, the power of the psyche, represents that history, and his history bears it out. Why was it that he was so loved by the ruler of Egypt? Because of his psychic powers. Then on the third level, Yusuf represents the psyche arriving at knowledge without use of the 5 senses, the Imam says, or without the 5 senses being given the credit for that achievement or that success. It's not the 5 senses that they are not used, but the 5 senses don't get the credit. This particular knowledge is intuitive knowledge, knowledge that we get by intuition. I'm talking about true intuition on the big scale, the Imam says. Universal, the universal picture. You see, when you train to establish your life in the context of the world, then that's what you receive. If you're successful in having that intuitive spark come on, what you get is direction for society in the world. That's what happened with the great prophets. That's what they were given in the Isra Al-Miraj, in the quote from Imam Muhammad. Yusuf is level 3 in the Isra Al-Miraj. He is the personification of intuition. He is a symbol of our innate potential for understanding the interpretation of things. That's a repeat. He is a symbol of our innate potential for understanding the interpretation of things. And we can express it again so we can clearly have it. Our intuitive capacity for understanding the interpretation of things. During the 1980 national broadcast, Imam Muhammad said, quote, now for all these years that I have been working with the lots of secret knowledge, nothing has been as rewarding to me as knowing that actually exactness in Scripture is abstract, and abstract in Scripture is exactness. Scripture will use, it says, figurative expression, figurative speech, and abstract symbols to address what is actual, and what is scientific, and what is very real. Figurative expressions and figurative speech means concepts that have to be seen outside of the picture that they are given in. End of quote. Scientifically speaking, there is a direct correlation between the Holy Quran, verses 12 through 14 of the 23rd chapter, and the night journey of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the tafsir of Imam W.D. Muhammad on the night journey of the Prophet, and the established findings in science of human cognitive development. So what I've just said is that there is a across-the-board correlation between four aspects or four sources of knowledge. The Holy Quran, one. The Isra and Miraj of the Prophet, two. Imam Muhammad's tafsir of the Isra and Miraj, three. And the established findings of the science of human cognitive development. So when we speak of these 7 levels, then all 4 of these matters are incorporated for, and Allah knows best, for the best understanding. The Quran says the believers are those who seek to hear the word and follow the best meaning in it, and Allah knows best. But for us today, when we speak of Yusuf on the 3rd level, the 3rd level, or Yusuf, coincides with the first part of verse 14 of chapter 23, which speaks to our 3rd phase of development in the wombs of our mothers. It says, that is in 23:14, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة. Then we made the sperm, that's the nutfa. Then we made the sperm, that nutfa was on level 2. Then we made the sperm into, the translator says, a clot of congealed blood. Imam Muhammad rahimahullah prefers for us blood adhering, and that's alaqatan. And it just in passing, that alaqatan, this tanween fata, it means it's indefinite. And I just want to say that it means that it's there, it has arrived, we've got to that level, but it's not yet mature. It's just beginning. It's indefinite. So this alaqatan and Yusuf are correlated. Alaqatan on the 3rd level in 23:14 of that evolution of us in the wombs of our mothers, and Yusuf on level 3 of Isra wa Miraj. They are both speaking to the same thing. Remember, Scripture uses figurative expression, figurative speech, and abstract symbols to address something that is actual, scientific, and real. In this case, it is a representation of our innate potential, and is also a representation of the stage that we are in at that point in the wombs of our mothers. So Yusuf is alaqatan. Yusuf is alaqatan. Right? And alaqatan as a stage of cognitive development, scientific, actual, and real. He represents something that is scientific, actual, and real in all of us, and that is represented in the Quran as alaqatan. And we're going to say more about what it means scientifically in cognitive development. He literally represents a young mind. That's literally what Yusuf represents. One of the meanings of the word alaqatan is, quote, occupations or such distractions that divert one from other things, or occurrences that cause us to forget or neglect or be unmindful. Ibn al-Athir reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, I have never tried to do what my people do except for 2 times. That was in my history. I only did it twice. And every time Allah intervened and checked me from doing so, I never did it again. Once I told my fellow shepherd to take care of my sheep when I went into the upper part of Mecca. I wanted to go down to Mecca and entertain myself as other young men did. I went down to the first house of Mecca where I heard music. I entered and I asked, what is this? And someone said, it's a wedding party. I sat down and listened, but soon I went to sleep, a deep sleep. I was awakened by the heat of the sun. I went back to my fellow shepherd and told him of what had happened to me, and I never tried it again. Well, this report illustrates that Muhammad ibn Abdullah, in his state of youth, before his maturity and before prophethood, it is another stage towards realizing the sacred potential in all human beings. So we see the reality of this state, this alaqatan, modeled in the actual youthful state of Prophet Muhammad as Muhammad ibn Abdullah. It is that reality, not just for Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that reality is represented in the youth Yusuf, the son of Yaqub sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when we see this Yusuf on this third level, the Isra Al-Miraj, he is representative of that state in all human beings from a cognitive level, just as it represents the alaqatan in the human being in the evolving inside the womb. In the Bible and the Holy Quran, we meet Yusuf not as a grown-up. We don't meet Yusuf as a grown-up in the Bible, and we don't meet Yusuf as a grown-up in the Quran. We meet Yusuf as a youth. The word alaqatan also refers to, quote, a small garment, or the first garment that is made for a boy. This is just the word itself. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen. By the methodology of Imam Muhammad, MashaAllah, we are guided by the grace of Allah to the connection. Okay, what's the connection between alaqatan and the fact that in its very definition is a small garment or the first garment that is made for a boy? Well, that's the connection. And Allah knows best. This connects us with Yusuf's not just one garment, but three garments. We're back to three again. There were three important garments in the story of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. One was in the 18th verse of the 12th chapter, which was the one that was used to tell a lie on him, that his brothers used, and that lie was not believed by his father. The second was in the 26th to the 28th verse of the 12th chapter, the garment that was torn from the back, the logic of which proved Yusuf's innocent. And the third was in verses 93 to 96 of the 12th chapter, wherein Yusuf's garment was sent before him to the blind Yaqub at the climax of Yusuf's story, which restored his joy and also his sight, that is Yaqub. So Yusuf is a symbol of our intuitive capacity for understanding the interpretation of things. In the Quran, 12th chapter, 15th verse, which is the chapter of Yusuf, says that Yusuf was thrown into a dry well. Now this stands for a condition wherein the interpretation of things was not well understood, or that potential was still in its unrefined state. Yusuf is there in the well, but he has to be drawn out. Now this drawn out is also another way of saying alaqatan. It means the same thing. The mazdari, that is the root meaning of alaqatan, is that apparatus, all the apparatus used for drawing water. This is literally what alaqatan means. Alaqatan, third level. Yusuf, third level. Definition of alaqatan, all of the apparatus used for drawing water by means of a pulley. Okay? Scientifically, it's the stage at which the natural brain development has assembled all the apparatus, that is the the embryonic capacity for logic. It's all there, but it's embryonic. I'm speaking on the cognitive level, not in the womb. I'm speaking on the cognitive level of the human being. The embryonic capacity for logic, all that's necessary in terms of apparatus to draw meaning out of matter. Okay? In other words, to be able to read creation. There's a stage at which we have the capacity, all the apparatus for it. Okay? That that's represented by Yusuf, the arrival of the apparatus, the arrival of the wherewithal to be able to do it. Yusuf is the birth of the capability to read and interpret the signs in creation, human and material, but it is just beginning. So Yusuf is the apparatus of our psychic makeup for this ability, intuitively understanding and interpreting things. Now, the wife of the Aziz and the women of the city in Yusuf's story give us very important scientific lessons about the nature of Yusuf. The tradition tells us that her name, the wife of the Aziz, was Zuleika. Zuleika and the women, they passionately desired Yusuf, and they just wouldn't let it go. So much so that Yusuf preferred prison and wouldn't come out, except on one condition, that the women were no longer a problem for him. Now, all of these women are a symbol. Remember, figurative speech, figurative expression that are speaking to something that is scientific, actual, and very real. So all of these women are a symbol of our immature attachment to things. They don't have to be, think about them as biological, physiological, anatomical women, just as it is with Yusuf and all the others as these expressions are given to us. They are abstract. They are representatives of something else. Okay? So all of these women are a symbol of our immature attachments to anything. Consequently, they typify those attachments which prevent the development of our psychic power and intuition, which is Yusuf. That's what's holding Yusuf back. That's what's holding that potential back from being what it is capable of being. Immature attachments to things that we have to learn how to let go. Even though the person may have the cognitive apparatus, they have not yet developed their deeper potential for interpreting phenomena with the benefit of intuition. That intuitive capacity cannot come out under those conditions. It is only after the person gives up their immature attachments to things that their intuitive capability will manifest. Cosmologically speaking, the essence of this stage is clinging, adhering, attachment, holding, hanging. The original life on this level, that is, that original life on its upward journey to full maturity, begins to cling to and adhere to this alakativ. It clings to the side, the uterine wall, literally in the womb. So externally, representative of our actual life as human beings, that's what we do also, right? So this attachment to the physical life, that is something that comes to us just by living on earth, and it will remain, and we will remain in that clinging state for the rest of our existence until and unless we learn how to transcend it. The story of Yusuf in the Quran is a crystal clear depiction of the challenge to the nascent sacred life at this stage. That is, the sacred life, the soul in its fullness is trying to realize its full aim, but it's at this stage where it has to overcome the challenges of attachments. When it comes to the powerful grip of such natural clinging and how it requires the help of Allah to transcend it, we see two events in Yusuf's life that address this directly. In the 24th verse of the 12th chapter of the Quran, it says, I'll just read the translation, it says, and with passion did she, that's Zuleika, and with passion did she desire him, and he would have desired her, but that he saw evidence from his Lord. Thus did we order that we might turn away from him all evil and shameful deeds, for he was one of our servants sincere and purified. You see, the Quran says, he would have desired her, but for what he saw of the evidence of his Lord. So Yusuf was able to rise above his passions for her by what he knew from his Lord. We have to do the same. In verse 53 of the 12th chapter, it says, nor do I absolve my own self of blame, because the human soul is certainly prone to evil unless my Lord bestow his mercy. But surely, certainly, my Lord is oft forgiving, most merciful. Within this verse, in the Lugha al-Arabiya, the language of the Arabic of the know, you'll recognize that as the first of those three levels that we're familiar with. Nafsul Amaratu, it means that and it says that it is prone to evil unless my Lord bestow his mercy. So no one can defeat the natural proclivity to err and to follow their passions, to have these attachments without the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From the perspective of humanity at large, the failure to transcend are addressed in the Quran as well. In verse 38 of chapter 9, it says, "O you who have believed, what's the matter with you, that when you are told to go forth in the cause of Allah, you adhere heavily, you cling to the earth? Are you satisfied with the life of this world rather than the hereafter? But what is the enjoyment of this world by comparison to the hereafter, but something very little?" So this is the existential tension in the life of every believing person, from the beginning to the end of his life and development. How do I relate to my life in this world and to my hope for life in the next? There is a very important message, and time flies when you're having fun, so we'll have to try to wind up, inshallah. There's the Arabic terminology that includes this. It says, "El-ghirasu tabdaru bil-uluq." And this is a part of what you find in thinking the definitions of alaqatis. And what it means, this phrase, it means uluq is the connection to alaq. It says it's the set or the shoot that is planted when it becomes changed by pullulating, and you hear the word pull in there, it's being drawn out, right? This is a metaphorical phrase meaning that is planted and becomes changed because it increases and rises when it clings to the earth and germinates. So it should be a statement that that's how plants grow. Plants grow by clinging to the earth, and they climb their way out of their holes or whatever they are, and especially vines, they climb on things that are out there. It's the nature of plant life, which is, as Allah says, وَاللَّهُ أَنبَتَكُم مِّنَ الْأَرْضِ نَبَاتًا. He created us growing from the earth, growing gradually like a plant. Imam Muhammed refers to this nature evolving in his topic, Growth of Human Consciousness. He says, God raises us up. He created us in the earth. Our physical essences are of this creation, of this earth, this physical universe. And God has already set the pattern of that growth, that progress, in the physical matter that we are from. The physical matter has the pattern. The pattern is in my physiology. God has designed all of this, and it brings us up step by step until we become a part of the social order, living and interacting with each other, in the quote. At this stage in the life process, the fitra, the human life creation, is at the point where its appetite is to express all of its inherent potential in this world. Its aim now is for the original destiny. So at this stage, it begins to change, to increase, to rise, because of its attachment to the material life. This is how we grow. You have to have attachment, but you have to be able to let go of attachments in order to grow to the next level. But you have to have attachments to draw you up from one stage to the other. But you have to know when to hold on. You have to know when to let go. And I know there's a song that goes with that. You hear it now. The Quran said, MashaAllah, 71:17, وَاللَّهُ أَنبَتَكُم مِّنَ الْأَرْضِ نَبَاتًا, and Allah created you growing from the earth as a progressive growth. With regard to man's cognitive development, since all five senses have become matured, that was Adam, right? And they have been stabilized in their function, that was used in John the Baptist. Then they begin to attach the inner life to the outer life. Scientific term for that is transcendental. But through the function of the five senses, we begin to be attached to this three-dimensional world, and we begin to take in information through those five senses, and that information drawn in or drawn out cultivates our innate capacity, helps it move closer and closer to its destiny. So they begin at this third level, they begin to attach the inner life to the outer life and give matter its significance and attraction. See, now we have interest. We're attentive to things, to matter. We're at this stage of the mental development of the human being, cognitive development. Now, due to the nature of their very operation, the engagement of the five senses is both a blessing and a challenge, because there's so much to see, so much to taste, so much to touch, so much to hear, so much to smell. Cognitively speaking, this current stage becomes mature by overcoming the dominance of the five senses in its perception and in its judgment. As the Imam says, this is an intuition that comes that the five senses are not involved, but the five senses don't get the credit. Well, one of the reasons is that we have to overcome the power of the five senses in order to move on to what transcends what the five senses bring us as information. We have to not focus on the physical. We have to actually get to the metaphysical. That is something that is included in the physical, but is not explicitly physical. Cognitively speaking, this current stage becomes mature by overcoming the dominance of the five senses on its perception and its judgment. This is the science that part of Yusuf's story is speaking to. It's speaking to rising above being dominated in our thinking by the function of the bodily senses. In cognitive science, this third level is actually called the pre-operational stage. Now, again, it's immature at this level, but all the apparatus is there, but it is, as you say, Mariva, it is, the grammar term escapes me right now. I know somebody's trying to tell me. Mariva Nekira, thank you. Appreciate that. Intuitively, I got it. Nekira, it's immature. It's immature. The stabilization in the person is required in order to go to the next level. Yusuf has to mature. It's immature. You got what you need, but it still has to grow, right? So when it grows, then it arrives at what cognitive science calls the concrete operational stage. That, or this next stage in that, is where the person is able to actually use nascent and simple logic, that is a higher capacity of the mind, because they have begun to overcome the dominance of the five senses in their perception. And that will be the movement of Yusuf. There is more to say. I do have to tell you, there is more to say about this transition, but we don't have the time, mashallah. So Yusuf is level 3. Idris is level 4. Idris is level 4, and Idris correlates with classroom consciousness. I'm talking about the scientific description of what that fourth level of cognitive capacity, concrete operational capacity is called, classroom consciousness. Who's Idris? Idris is lesson. So alhamdulillah, this, as it says, figurative speech, figurative expression is speaking to something that is actual, scientific, and real. So Yusuf is the beginning of that capacity. Yusuf represents, again, we say, the intuitive capacity for understanding and interpreting things or phenomena. Idris is when we learn how to be able to actually use the logic of what we extract to build further, to develop further, to establish more. So, mashallah, we thank Allah for the opportunity to continue to share on these wonderful broadcasts and study Al-Islam. I want to let you know about next weekend. Next weekend, a special program that you can get from dusk to dawn, an academic examination of Elijah Muhammad's contribution to the ministry of Imam Muhammad, and you can receive it live on aclearunderstanding.net. So if you want to tune in, we'll be in California at that time, and those broadcasts, inshallah, are going to be coming across live on aclearunderstanding.net. So mashallah, brothers and sisters, thank you so much for your time and attention, and we look forward to the next time that we have the opportunity to share on study Al-Islam, life topics. Allah's peace be on you. Everybody have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.